Hello everyone, my name is Drew, and I just got finished playing the first 4 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance, so I want to give you guys my first impressions, what I think. I basically just completed the tutorial section of the game, or the intro, prologue, whatever you want to call it, section of the game, so I have gotten a good taste of basically everything the game has to offer, but that is what it is. It's simply just a taste. This is in no way a full review or anything like that. I'm going to do a full review of the game once I have played it a lot more and have a lot more hours under my belt, but I just wanted to get this video out to you guys soon so you can know how I feel about the game and how things are shaping up. Now keep in mind, for the 4 hours that I played it, I had to play it at 720p to be able to stream it, so I can't comment so much on performance issues across the board, because for the most part it ran at 60 frames per second, and I mean, yeah, it's 720p, so that's not a problem. I'll report back if there's anything significant. I'll say something on Twitter or something like that if I have significant performance problems when I go up to 1080p, but considering the fact that I did see some performance issues just at 720p, it would not surprise me at all if there's a lot of issues when you go to 1080p or even up to 4K if you're one of those people playing on one of those systems. So I'm going to split this first impressions up into 3 sections: presentation, combat, and RPG mechanics, because those were the 3 things that I was concerned about when going into this game. Now, if you don't know, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a successful Kickstarter campaign result, as people funded this game, and it really sold itself on hyper-realism of this sort of medieval era. Honestly, I never really knew about it. I mean, I kind of missed the whole Kickstarter train. I think I was too young for that, but it is still interesting to me now to see that a lot of effort went into this game, despite the fact that it came from pretty humble origins. People had an idea, and people liked that idea. They paid them for the idea. They hired some people, and they made the game. It's out. But anyway, I'm done rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the presentation. So yeah, this game is not a looker by any means. I mean, the texture work and stuff like that, when it loads in, it looks pretty good. I'd say the environments and the landscapes in this game are beautiful. I mean, seriously, the world that they've built here looks incredible, and the fact that it's based on a real-world Bohemia, it really just sets it in as this realistic narrative. But that is when the game loads those textures, which there is a massive amount of texture pop-in this game, and normally that's not something I really care about, but oh boy, is it noticeable. In fact, that's how I would sum up the presentation overall. I'm not the biggest stickler for presentation, as long as it runs fine and looks consistent enough that I don't notice things. I mean, like, I play a ton of old, shitty looking games on my channel, so I'm not gonna pick at a game for looking bad or anything like that, but this game does have some pretty muddy textures. The texture pop-in is very noticeable. There's a bunch of graphical bugs and things like that. The camera glitches through things all the time. The lip sync in this game is god-awful and almost non-existent. I mean, seriously. Some of the lip syncing in this game is just like, what were you syncing with? The facial animations are just on par with the lip syncing. Sometimes they're on point, sometimes they're just completely missing the mark. There are some cinematics in the game that do look genuinely good, but for the most part, when stuff is rendered in-engine, like conversations and things like that, it leaves a lot to be desired. And it's not just the graphics that are all over the place. The voice acting in this game is so unbelievably scattered. It is just like totally across the board. For one, the main character, I don't know his name, the actor who is voicing the main character has done an absolutely amazing job so far. The first 4 hours, there's a lot of heavy story moments, and they've completely sold every single second of it. I believe in the character, I like the character, and that is all due to the voice acting. It is excellent for the main character. They pegged that. Everyone else, though, is kind of a mixed bag, and some of them are just honestly bad.
Greetings, Sir Markford. The efforts of the king's brother to bring order to this chaotic land are undoubtedly noble. It seems to me, though, that he and his army have somewhat strayed. But
I haven't made it too far into the, like, nameable characters yet. There are some other characters that I've seen in passing them like, okay, their voice acting's good, but there's a lot of characters, and I mean a lot of characters, where I'm just like, who did you run out? Is this just a developer? Did you run out of people to hire for voice work? It seems like they really spent a lot of their voice acting budget, or that portion of their budget, making sure they got good voice actors for the most important characters, which is good. I'm glad they did that, but whew, everybody else, like, I don't know, it's like, it's bad. So on top of the graphics and the voice acting, the performance is bad, especially when there is any sort of inclement weather in the game. When it starts to rain, especially at night, there's a section where it's raining at night for a story reason, and that really bogged down my system. It dragged the game down to 30 frames per second, and my stream was down to like 12 frames per second, which does not normally happen on my stream at all. So yeah, there are definitely some performance issues, and it's going to be even worse if you're going to be playing at 1080p or 4K. I'm gonna be playing at 1080p for the next couple of days while I play the game on my own without streaming it. So I'm kind of worried going into that. I know the performance is going to take a serious hit upping that resolution. So now let's go ahead and get into another major concern that I and a lot of people had going into this game, which is the combat. This game takes a different approach to combat than most first-person action RPGs like Skyrim or any other Bethesda game for that matter, and any game with first-person melee combat at all. I can't really remember the last time I've seen a first-person game use lock-on Dark Souls-esque combat like this, if I've ever seen one. But yeah, you lock on to enemies and you have a 5-point star that is the reticle for who you're locking on, and you can change the direction that you are going to swing your weapon based on the points on that star. Now, at first, this is kind of confusing because you think it's a system like For Honor, where you aim in a certain direction, and whatever direction the other enemy is you know, the direction they'll block. So you kind of try to go the opposite, but that's not necessarily how it works. There is a rhythm to the combat, and to be successful in the combat, you do kind of have to switch things up. You have to swing from different directions. You have to jab when you notice your enemy is not at his ready position. So you swing at an enemy, make them stagger, and you can jab at them. And also, you have to make sure that when you're fighting a certain enemy, you don't do the same attacks over and over, because they do learn the attacks that you are giving, and they will eventually just learn to block from that position, and it will become much more difficult. The result is combat that feels incredibly realistic, if not a little not so fluid. It is getting better the more I get to play with it, and it's one of those things where one of the characters in the game said that you really need to practice your combat skills with real combat. And that is incredibly true, because every single fight I get into in this game, I get a little bit better at the combat system, which makes me think that since there's such a high skill ceiling, that once I'm, you know, 10, 20, 30 hours into this game, I will actually really enjoy the combat. And for the most part, so far, every time I got into a fight, it was fun. It was interesting. Even when I died, like, it was just a fun time that I was having trying to figure out what to do. But yeah, overall, I would say the combat is rather successful. Now, keep in mind, so far in the first 4 hours, I've only done one-on-one combat. I've only fought one person at a time. I'm very interested to see how the combat changes when you have multiple opponents, because it is kind of that Dark Souls-esque one-on-one combat, but there isn't a whole lot of opportunity for, you know, AoE attacks or anything like that, like big swings you can just do in front of you like you can in Dark Souls, where you can kind of crowd control a little bit. There is basically no crowd control in this game, so I'm going to be very interested to see how multiple opponent combat works in this game, or if it works at all. That could lead to a lot of frustration. And for the last topic I wanted to talk about with this game is the RPG mechanics. This is another thing I was really actually excited about going into the game, was the depth of the world and the amount of consequence to your decisions that you can make throughout the game. This is one of the biggest selling points of the game, is that you can make decisions that fully change the world, at least fully change how your character is perceived by other people. You have a reputation amongst all of these people. They know you for certain things, and so you can use that as an advantage in conversations, or it's something that leaves you at a severe disadvantage with certain people. Overall, I'd say the writing in this game is very, very good. The dialogue is very sympathetic and realistic. You believe that these people exist in this time period. You know, they're very religious, they're very honorable, and they're very loyal people, but they're also understanding of real-world problems and real-world situations. When you tell somebody that you gotta go back to your village to bury somebody, they understand where you're coming from, and they say, well, I can't do it like this, but if you just happen to walk over there where I can't see you, then maybe something will happen. Every person you talk to feels like a person with their own problems and their own perspective of the world, and you can play off of that, and you can have conversations that play with those things. And the first, I'd say, 2 hours of this game are perfect in explaining that fact. You have to go up to a guy who owes your dad money, and you can push his buttons a little bit, and he'll either fight you or just say, ah, fuck off. I, of course, went and fought him, at which point he beat the shit out of me. I went crying to my mom, who healed me, and then I decided I was going to go into the dude's house and steal the money from his chest when he wasn't there. Well, I got caught picking the lock, and I ran away from the guards, and I thought, oh, okay, this is a typical RPG. I'm gonna get away scot-free. So I went along my merry business, told my dad, hey, that guy told me to fuck off, and he gave me the money, whatever. And then I went off and did other things for the quest. Well, then a guard came up to me and said, hey, I recognize you. You're in a lot of trouble. And I had to pay a fine. I didn't have any money to pay for that fine, so then I got sent to jail. Okay, so the guards remember you. Okay, that makes sense. This game's going for realism. Now let's go ahead and break out of jail, I guess. I'll be somebody who can't pick a lock on a simple chest, but I can somehow break out of jail. Okay, whatever, game. Yeah, that's not what happened. I was stuck in this jail cell, and I'm still amazed by this, and it still makes me laugh hysterically. I fucking died. I died in prison. The screen just comes up and says, "Game over. You died in prison." I had fucked up every single thing up until that point. I messed with a drunk guy, I got in a fight when I probably shouldn't have, I got the shit beat out of me, I threw a bunch of poop at a guy's house, I got caught by the guards, like, I fucked up everything that you could possibly do, and the game made me pay for it. I immediately understood that there are consequences, and yes, you can get a game over screen for making the wrong choices, which I honestly kind of love. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't I die if I was in prison when the town got raided? Because fuck me, right? I'm just some guy, and that's the beauty of this game is you start at the very, very bottom. You are just some guy. I mean, you're a blacksmith's son who works for some sort of semblance of royalty, so some people respect you. I mean, you're not the absolute bottom, like, dirt beggar begging people for money, but you're still like maybe one step up above that. And that's why I like the conversation system in this game. It's not your simple good, evil, neutral choices. It's kind of like a more calm and logical tone and a more noble tone where you kind of use your nobility to lead you through a conversation, and then you can use strength, which is kind of like a boisterous, you punch your way through conversations, and different people will react differently to each type of conversation that you go through. And another thing that can influence is how people know you, your reputation. That can make you a little bit more noble, or if you're the kind of person who kills a lot of people, it can make you more scary, so the strength option is more usable. Honestly, the RPG mechanics in this game are probably my favorite aspect of it so far. You have to make sure you sleep enough, you have to make sure you eat enough. You don't have to eat and drink, it's kind of just lumped into one stat called nutrition, but they do degrade over time. You can overeat, and I think you might even be able to oversleep. You can only save in this game when you drink a potion called Save Your Schnapps, which I think is kind of weird. I don't like having limited saves in a game, but I'll see how it goes. But it still is an interesting thing where when you save, you actually get like more boisterous and you get more vitality from the alcohol that you drank, as long as you're not drinking too much. So it actually kind of gives you a weird buff. Anyway, I'm sure I've missed a few things, but that is just my off-the-cuff discussion about the game. Now, the summary of what I had to say, would I recommend you guys go out and buy this game for $60 unless you're absolutely itching for an open world RPG game that really is consequential decisions, which that's for some people. I was actually itching for this, so I'm personally happy that I spent $60 on this game. If you don't like the bugs or the performance issues and you just want to wait, then just wait. You're not really missing out on much. It's a totally single player game. For most people, what I would recommend is just wait until there are some more updates, maybe until a price drop. I'd say $40 would be about worth it in its current state, but keep in mind I've only played 4 hours of it. I can't stress that enough. I don't have as much information as other people who've played it for like 24 hours already. And so yeah, those are my first impressions of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's support from people like you guys who are watching this video and reaching out to me and messaging me and talking to me on Twitch and things like that that made this video possible. Like I said, I can't always afford the newest games to come out, but thanks to you guys and thanks to your support, I could afford this one, and I'm going to be able to afford ones in the future. So I'm very excited for 2018 and for what it's going to mean for new games coming out. I can't wait to get to the next one. I can't wait to do my final review for this. But yeah, other than that, I will see you guys this Friday for patch notes. Bye.